Hey, welcome to the University of Florida Film Society podcast, episode 1.
Hey!
I'm Bradley Gilrain. I'm joined here by
Nathaniel Saraseta.
Alyssa Archer.
Christopher Can.
and that's our motley crew.
Hey!
All right, so today we're talking about the film Joker and perhaps the controversy that is surrounding that movie for some reason, if we have enough time.
It'll blow over.
All right, so let's start with initial thoughts, starting with Nathaniel.
Just on the movie as a whole?
Yeah, just on the movie.
I think it was great. I really liked it. I thought, obviously, the performance was amazing. I thought the cinematography and just the filmmaking quality in general was a lot better than I was expecting it to be, considering the director.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Didn't he do
He did.
Hangover.
All
Yeah,
three
Hangovers.
And he did Due Date.
Old school.
What is due
I
date?
like
It's
old
the
school.
one with Robert Downey Jr. and Zach Galifianakis, and it's basically a remake of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. But Zach Galifianakis,
Didn't this director make something else that was really good too?
Old school.
I mean,
Which
Hangover
one was-
I love
1.
old school. It's like
When did that come out?
2004.
Okay, so it's been a while
It's
since
like,
he's
yeah,
made
it's
anything
like,
good.
it's like when Vince Vaughn was still doing movies.
Yes.
Oh my. That
You
dates
know what?
it.
He's been making a bit of a comeback, though.
He's the
Vince
man.
Vaughn?
Yes.
I love Vince Vaughn.
Brawl in Cell Block 99 is a great movie that everybody should go see.
All right, so
All right.
Yeah, okay, let's keep
Alyssa's
going.
opinions on
Yes.
the Joker.
Is everyone in the room a fan of the superhero genre?
Yes, I am.
I was up until I saw Endgame, or not Endgame. Yeah, Endgame, and I'm like, okay, I liked Endgame. I'm done with superhero movies.
See,
Interesting.
you're not a true fan.
It took the 3 hours and 20 minutes was too much, and I am burned out officially.
Okay,
But
Okay.
that's
I can
understandable.
still appreciate it.
I asked because I'm not,
Uh-huh.
but I was still really excited about this one because it doesn't really seem like your traditional superhero, backstory.
It
type.
wasn't at all. This could,
Not
this
at
could have
all.
been not about the Joker at all and still been a pretty
That
good movie.
and that's why I was really excited going into it, and I was not disappointed. Cinematography was beautiful in the grossest way possible.
An off
It
by
was dark
Lena.
and nasty and just weird, but I really enjoyed it. Joaquin Phoenix can do no wrong in my mind. He was
Seriously.
awesome.
Except that weird Jimmy Kimmel interview.
Okay, we'll get to that. We'll get
Yeah.
to that. I have some thoughts on that, but these are my opening
God,
thoughts.
That interview was just painful.
You know that was all
to watch.
staged, right? They all said it was staged later. Like it was just like a bad joke that did not land.
Damn.
Makes it even funnier.
Yeah.
All right, so on to my opinions of it. Like I said, I've been really burned out on the superhero genre. Like I saw Spider-Man: Far From Home, and like people were like, "Oh, that was so good," and I'm like, "That really wasn't." So-
Fundamentally disagree, bro.
We'll get to that later.
Yeah.
But I went into this with an open mind, and by God, it was fantastic. Like
Mhm.
seeing it coming out of the DC studio, I was like, I've got some reservations,
Mhm.
and they were unfounded. It was really good. Joaquin Phoenix's performance was breathtaking. He carried the movie on his back, but everyone did a really good job acting. I think the acting was what made this movie. I mean, the cinematography was really good, but the narrative wasn't exactly the strongest, but
Right.
it didn't really have to be because that
Yeah.
wasn't what the movie was
It's a
about.
template. It was a template that's been used before, and it's
I
an
mean,
effective one.
It's
So
just Taxi Driver.
yeah. So it's like it's not bad. There's nothing wrong with it.
nothing
I can
wrong with making
imagine
a new
this-
Taxi Driver.
I can imagine this new generation, a lot of whom are not like us and who aren't film people, who haven't seen Taxi Driver, will go and watch this movie and be like, "This movie was amazing.
Yeah.
This is our Taxi Driver." That because they'll later find out that it's Taxi Driver essentially.
So, Chris?
I went into it. When I first saw the trailer, that's when I first became really excited. And I try not to watch trailers and get really excited about movies because I've been let down before. But, and then also Martin Scorsese has his name attached to the movie very early on. So those two things, like Joaquin Phoenix starring as the Joker, and he does great in these roles. I mean, The Master.
It was good in Signs.
Walk the Line. He was great in that. He was good in Signs. Signs was a bad movie.
Signs
He
is
was
a bad
good
movie,
in
but
that.
he was good in Signs. Did a good job.
Yeah.
Bad spot.
Just so many good performances out of him.
But he could just do the character study of someone like devolving into madness. I mean, how many times has he done
Her.
that? Like 3. He's done it
Yeah.
3 times.
Speaking of the Joker character in this iteration, how do you guys feel about it compared to like other Jokers? Because I think this
I think this might be the best one.
I think this is the best one just because it's actually got a lot of time devoted
Seb
to it.
wants to kill me every time he hears me say that because he's like he won't let go of Heath Ledger, and I'm like, it's a good performance, but man, it did not have the same substance.
It just
that
didn't
this
have
one
enough
did.
time to do it. I mean, if Heath
Yeah.
Ledger got his own movie to be the Joker,
Oh
maybe,
yeah,
but
for sure,
he didn't.
But his version of the Joker, though, that's the whole this version of the Joker was like the antithesis of Heath Ledger's version, because Ledger's version is not supposed to have like an origin or anything. He's not
just
supposed to have a
be
purpose,
Batman.
right?
Right.
This one, and I've heard people say, "Oh, that's kind of
That is the Joker's
that's the
MO.
character, right?"
Like Joker doesn't have a backstory.
Yeah, exactly. Even
Yeah.
like if you go back into the comics, the Killing Joke and stuff like this, it's all different stuff. Nobody cares. It could be anything, you know.
Mhm.
And that's part of the appeal of the character.
I think it's really funny that they made him a failed stand-up comedian.
Yeah.
Like that's just funny.
They took that specifically from the Killing Joke, which is this comic book, in case you don't know, that basically purports to tell the first origin of the Joker. And it was like he was a failed stand-up comedian, and then he tried to rob a chemical thing in a Red Hood, and then Batman like shoved him into a vat of chemicals or whatever. And then, but like at the very end, Joker's like, oh, that might be what happened. I have no idea. That could just be another thing.
Uh-huh.
And so even so, like this is like the first, except for the like 1989 Batman movie, that gave Joker an definitive origin.
Right.
But even this movie doesn't have a definitive origin. We still don't know.
He's like definitely
He's-
unreliable.
That's true.
Oh yeah.
That's
So
very
like
true.
we thought he was a Fleck, but he's not, and we thought he was a Wayne, but he's not. He doesn't know who his parents are.
Yeah.
He's Affleck.
Yeah.
Hey, did you notice that?
I try not to. I try not to think of Ben Affleck.
Oh, come on. He makes good stuff. Every now
Does he
and again.
though? Does he really? Because I don't.
Every now and again.
I mean,
It's
Good Will
been-
Hunting.
I mean, it's been a hot minute. I'm not gonna say Ben
Well,
Affleck
he
has
was
never had a
also
good
in-
performance. It's just been a while.
He also directed Argo, 2013. That wasn't bad.
I don't like his acting. I really don't like him as Batman. I really don't like him as
What?
Batman.
I thought he wasn't that bad. Okay, let's.
I think they're better Batman.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say about the Joker? I think this one. I mean, just to bring up Jared Leto's Joker as the definitive worst Joker.
Yeah.
I think this one's really interesting because it really delves further into the whole this is a certified lunatic. The other ones have been like criminals who are bad people who are kind of crazy. This guy's a crazy
Yeah.
person
Ledger's-
who's also a criminal.
Like Ledger's Joker was just kind of like a nihilist. He wasn't like he wasn't. He did bad things, but like he was just kind of like a bad person with like a nihilistic worldview. He wasn't exactly insane in
Yeah.
the same way that this Joker definitely was.
Guy's a bad man.
Yeah, he's crazy. Like this is the first. I guess not the first Joker, but the first one that really, I guess, went into his brain to
Yeah.
show you exactly what's going on.
Because Jack Nicholson's was just a criminal who fell into a vat of acid.
Jack Nicholson was so fun.
I like his Joker a lot.
He's
I
just
think
so
that
fun.
one's a good like classic Joker,
Oh,
but I
yeah.
think when we're moving into like deeper cinema, I think the Joaquin Phoenix.
The Joker's gotten more progressively as the years have gone on, more and more violent and depraved, and just. Are we doing a clean like podcast here?
You know, I don't necessarily think we have to, but you know,
Steer it in that direction. Okay.
Don't be excessive.
Just more messed up.
uh,
You know, just more insane. You know, in the comics and the movies.
mhm.
So the Joker just started out as like a,
grittier, like just more.
yeah, just like more blood, more killing. Like this was actually not as bloody as I thought it was going to be. Movie,
You-
honestly.
Going into the controversy part, people are like, "Ooh, this is a violent film. It's scary." And I'm like, after watching it, I just thought he killed like what, five, six
four
people?
5 people actually.
Yeah, like he got other people's killed, but he only killed
Other people's.
other people's.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert! He killed the 3 dudes and then
His mom.
his mom.
We're doing spoilers now, everybody. I guess.
He killed his mom.
Make a
Pillow.
note. Make a note of this point in.
Well,
the,
we already said the people on the train, so I assumed.
Yeah, the
it
people in the
Yeah.
train, his
Killed-
mom, he killed the guy in his apartment with the scissors
Yeah.
who tried to set him up, and he killed Robert De Niro.
And he also killed the nurse at the end of the movie too.
Oh, he did kill the
Yeah.
nurse.
Well, that's up for debate.
I mean, his shoes are all bloody, and the nurse isn't following him out of the building.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm
I
pretty
think
sure.
that nurse
That's
lady is
so-
dead.
Yeah.
And he may or may not have killed Zazie Beetz.
Yeah, that's true.
Who?
Zazie,
Zazie.
the love interest.
Oh,
Zazie Beetz.
That's
is
true.
she
That
played-
one is up for debate.
she
That one
is-
could be either way
her
around.
star is on the rise, man. She was in Deadpool 2. She started off in Atlanta, which is how she like started. That's the first thing I saw her in, as Zazie Beetz. I mean, now she's in this. She's gonna break out pretty soon.
I
think so.
really liked her performance. I really liked the the conflict between her, like in Joker's head, and the
I-
actual woman
I-
at the end of the movie.
I called that the second that happened. The second she
Yeah.
said his name, Arthur, you're so funny. I never told you my name. How do you know my name? Exactly.
That's true.
Yes.
I never know. I didn't realize it until like he went into her apartment before the very obvious like she wasn't real.
Mhm.
But I picked it up once he walked into the
That
apartment.
whole sequence could have been like, we're not babies. Like, we can understand that this.
On one hand, yes, but on the other hand, I watched it with my friend Dan, who didn't even get it until after I told him. Like he didn't even get it after that happened. Like he didn't know
After
what
the-
that was about.
After the big reveal.
Yeah, like
Still.
even after that, even after they showed her not in those scenes, he didn't quite get it. And I'm like, she wasn't real, man. He
Yeah.
goes, oh, that makes sense. And it's funny because Dan's a smart guy. He's like a programming or he's like a software engineer. He's just not didn't pick up on it. So I probably would have said going without that would have been better, but I don't know. Probably a more tactful way of showing that.
I mean, it was a good reveal. I mean, I thought it was obvious from the like this woman doesn't act like a logical person would act throughout this entire
And
film.
there's like
Were
a
you
scene where he
stalking
just like opens the door and they just start making out.
That's what I
Yes.
knew.
Yeah.
I said it to you in the theater too. I'm like, she's so hot. There's no way she's hanging out with this nerd.
The I think like I was kind of suspicious of it when she asked him, "Were you stalking me?" And he goes, "Yeah," and then they just hang out
Mhm.
anyway. I thought that
I-
was a bit.
Yeah,
Out
I
there.
called
Yeah.
it immediately.
Oh,
Immediately.
How's about him shooting Robert De Niro in the freaking face at the end of the movie?
I-
Really
listen,
solidifying him
I-
taking the
I called-
taxi
I
driver
called
station.
I called De Niro biting it as soon as I saw the second trailer.
Really?
Because, like, if you remember in the second trailer, there's that part where Robert De Niro shows the clip of Joker doing the joke, and he makes fun of him, and basically I'm just like, oh man, this isn't gonna end well for Robert De Niro. He's not gonna make it. You shouldn't have made fun of the main character. Shouldn't have done that. Don't you know that you're in a movie?
Oh man, I think I kind of liked how like bad he was at hurting other people.
Mhm.
Like he missed a lot.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
it wasn't like he was like a efficient criminal or anything.
Yeah.
Like he was just some dork who found a 38. Like
Who was given a 38?
yeah, he was given a 38.
The
Which,
same way
man,
Taxi
stupidest
Driver.
character in the
Yeah,
history of
it's
Literally the
cinema.
exact same way. Of like, oh, you shouldn't get a gun and protect yourself.
Dumbest
Yeah.
character in the history of modern cinema. The dude who gave this dude a gun. For free.
He
Wasn't
gave,
even.
he gave him a gun for free. A man who he knew was mentally ill. He gave him that gun and then narked on him without getting
And
the
then
gun
went
back.
to his apartment to square their stories or whatever to this, again, person who you know is a psychopath.
Uh-huh.
Man, you got exactly what you got coming to you,
I
man.
thought it was really funny how he didn't kill the other guy. Like, nah, you're the only guy who's been nice to me.
Yeah.
And like, then there's that real moment at the end where he can't reach the lock.
Well,
God.
Arthur locked that one and didn't lock the bottom one.
Yeah.
So do you think he knew that? Like,
I don't know, because I thought about that, because he's like, he definitely did that, like, on purpose, but he also didn't kill him, so it's,
maybe he, like thought about it.
yeah, like, he really considered it, like, do I want to leave a witness?
Man,
Eh,
that's
let him
the
go.
scariest part of the movie is when you don't know whether that little guy is gonna bite it.
Yeah,
I
like,
forget-
that's probably
I forget
the
his-
most tense
yeah.
scene in the movie.
Because you don't know if
Yeah,
he's
he
gonna-
might just stab him in the neck with
Yeah.
the scissors as he walks by.
Jesus.
And that was like the most brutal killing in the movie.
Oh,
by
for sure.
far.
And it just went on and on.
Rips him apart with some scissors.
Was that CGI blood? It was.
No.
It wasn't?
No, I'm pretty sure those were blood packets.
Man.
Because it was, like, all over the place.
I guess so.
It was brutal.
It was nasty. That was the only one that was nasty.
And the thing in the train, I know this is a really nitpicky thing, but he had a revolver and he shot more than 6 times.
He did.
And-
I was thinking to myself, like, it's a 38. Maybe the bullets are kind of small. It's a big revolver, but it showed it in a different scene.
It's,
like
you
a
know what?
6
It's a
shooter.
little tiny thing, but when you like the average movie person knows that a revolver should have 6 bullets in it. That might
Even
be
5. Like some of those guns, like that was not a big gun. It might have only
Yeah,
had 5.
that was at most 6, and I'm like, okay, man, you could have like figured this out, or just have him shoot less times or whatever.
Yeah,
Like,
you can like if he had 6 bullets, he can afford to miss the other guy twice.
oh,
you know?
yes, again, really nitpicky thing, but it's like when people think about those things, that puts the movie just a little tiny bit
Higher.
for me. For me,
Mhm.
you know, people.
That little bit of extra realism.
Majority of people didn't even notice that.
Mhm.
But.
So, Chris, did you like find anything interesting out in your research about the movie, or Just
like about controversy or just like the filmmaking process of it?
either or, whichever you think is more interesting.
I thought it was cool that the initial bathroom scene was completely improvised. When after he kills the people on the train, the businessman, he walks into the bathroom and starts dancing.
Oh,
Damn.
really?
Initially, it was supposed to be
Joaquin Phoenix,
him
man.
like putting hiding, like scurrying in there, hiding the gun,
Uh-huh.
and just looking in the mirror and like washing off the clown makeup. But then he's like, "What if I just dance?"
What if I just-
No, actually, it was because the soundtrack was written
before the movie.
before the movie was written.
Yeah, and they
before
played it for him.
So he started dancing to the soundtrack, and that's when they were like, let's just do that instead.
That's pretty cool.
How did he get his hair so green without bleaching it first?
You know?
God, these are the questions that I have.
Again.
These are the real questions.
Speaking of questions, Alyssa, do you have anything to add?
Well, how did everyone feel about the final monologue on the TV show?
Ooh,
I
society.
have a couple thoughts on that.
It was on the nose. It was.
Yes.
That's where the writing started to show its cracks, just a little tiny bit for me. Just because, okay, I get it, I understand. You don't have to keep saying, "Oh, said it again." There
That's
you go.
how I felt about it as
Yeah.
well.
It was, but
I don't know. I felt like this movie was really anti-rich people, and I felt like that scene was a nice sucker punch for it, in the
Mhm.
end, because it's the rich guy's a bad
it
man.
says the word society.
He does say society, and Vance clapped in the theater when
Yes.
he did.
Yeah, he did.
I wasn't there to hear it, unfortunately, but I did hear that Vance freaking clapped.
Boy, I mean, he said he was gonna do it, and then
He
he did
said
it.
he did it, and then he did. I kind of thought he would shoot the other people in the show too, but he just shot Robert De Niro.
Yeah, isn't that in the Killing
Well,
Joke? He kills the entire audience.
In the comic book, he doesn't kill anybody as himself. So basically, what happens is he has a wife who is pregnant, and he's a struggling comic, and he doesn't have any money. And a couple of gangsters come up to him and say, "Hey, you've been taking out loans with us, and you can't pay them back. So we're gonna make you rob a chemical plant with us." And they give him this red helmet that is completely red, but he could still see through it for some reason. And because the classic Joker origin is that he started out as a criminal called the Red Hood, who Batman fights, and then he falls into a vat of acid and then comes out the Joker. And that's basically, they basically, Alan Moore, the writer, put a little bit more flavor into it, making him into a struggling comic, him having a wife, basically all that stuff. And basically, I don't think he never shoots any audience in the comic. I'm pretty sure. It's been a long time since I read it though, so he does shoot Barbara Gordon and then kidnap her dad and then try to drive him insane, because that's the one. There's the one bad day philosophy thing. All it takes is one bad day to drive a person insane, and that's Joker's whole thing. And so he's trying to prove it by giving the
Joker
police
had a
officer-
lot of bad days in this movie.
Yeah.
Three
He
or
said
four.
he said the words, "I had a bad day." If you remember, when he is inside the apartment of Zazie Beetz, and she's just like, "Who the fuck are you?" He's just like, "I had a bad day," and I nerded out in the theater because of that, because I'm just like, "Hey, good nod, good job, Todd Phillips, good little reference there."
Fod Phillips.
Fod Phillips.
That's my new favorite director.
He won a Golden Lion at the Venice Film Festival.
Good
He
for him,
won.
man.
Man,
Was that from Joker?
yeah, for Joker.
Wow.
Well, I think this movie's good because it'll promote movies like it being made, which is what I want.
Comic
Yeah.
book movies are getting more and more out. They're experimenting more. We have Deadpool and Logan and this now, and it looks like the new Harley Quinn movie is going to be a lot bloodier, just from the little teaser that they played before it too.
I completely forgot about that. How there's just a random included teaser
Yeah.
in it too.
Mhm. It was strange. It was weird. I think they were trying to do the Tenet thing, the thing they were only showing the trailer for Tenet in front of certain movies in theaters. They didn't put it online, but I don't know. It's probably still going to be a bad movie, but they're not afraid to make comic
Different
book
bad movies.
different comic book movies that are not aimed squarely at children.
Yeah.
Or not aimed squarely.
They're
at
not doing
children, but aimed
the
at
Marvel
the
thing.
skew. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're not Marvel has a formula.
That's
fine.
what I'm done with. It's not superhero movies. I'm done with the Marvel formula.
Right. Like,
I've
they
had
can-
enough of it.
They're starting to branch out and be like, hey, these kinds of movies can still make money. And this is true. Joker's been making some pretty good money, man.
It did
I mean,
really
it
well
broke,
at the box
it
office.
broke the Thursday.
Yeah.
And it also broke
record.
the October film record
Mm.
by a fat margin.
You know how this is a good movie? When Suicide Squad came out, everybody and their mother dressed up as Harley Quinn specifically. No one is gonna dress up as Joker this Halloween because they know that they're
get
gonna
arrested.
they're gonna get arrested immediately. Okay.
And
When a
that's,
movie
that's
has
the
that-
trace of power.
When a movie
That's
has
how you
that
know.
kind of impact
Oh,
on the
that's a
real
good
world,
segue to
people are talking
conversation.
about it that much. I feel like there's something there. I don't know.
And that is a good segue into the
Mhm.
controversy. I kind of understand where the whole thing about incelism comes from. I mean, it is Taxi Driver.
Yeah.
Taxi Driver is way more of the incel movie than this was.
I agree.
I like this a little more than Taxi Driver.
Yeah.
I think like Taxi Driver skeeved me out a little too much.
Hmm.
Like it's just like unpleasant at
Mhm.
times to watch, and this is too. But I feel like it's more in line with the character because there's a little bit of backstory to him.
If anything, I think Travis Bickle is just a little tiny bit more disturbing.
Oh, yeah.
Than
No, definitely.
Affleck. Just because like he just literally like he stalks a woman. Because they both stalk women, but like Travis Bickle just kind of seems like a
I just
Just
got
like
it. Arthur Fleck.
Yeah.
A Fleck. Affleck.
Yeah.
You get it.
Damn it.
yeah
I feel dumb.
yeah. That's a made up. I don't think that name has ever been used in the comics before. Like Arthur has been used before, but the Fleck part I think is new.
So how's about that part where the U.S. military gave the army a warning
You
about?
have anything better
watching.
to do?
They
really?
They do this for a lot of stuff, though. It sounds ridiculous at the outset, but they send these warnings for the most mundane things. Like, I think they've done it for all, like, any of the superhero movies that came out after the Batman movies did.
Yeah.
I think they did it for. I forget if they did it for Suicide
I
Squad.
mean,
or
there's
not.
just more cops in theaters now. That's just how it is. There's always a cop somewhere inside the theater now, ever since Aurora, which makes sense.
I know that the Regals out here have a security guard on Fridays and Saturdays.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, I know that guy is completely useless. Fun fact. The gentleman that works there now, I don't know if he still does, was a employee who worked at the one of the other local theaters, and he got fired for not showing up to work. And then 3 months later, he gets hired as a security guard at another one of the theaters. So that's funny how that works.
Whenever there's a big movie,
You're very
there's a-
safe, everyone. You're
Yeah.
in good hands.
We're,
Yeah.
yes, we are.
Other people tried to say like it was the movie was something about the trials and tribulations of the modern white man, like the loss of power.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't-
Fuck up.
I don't think it could be extrapolated to that. I even think
I don't see it at all.
Wait, what is the thought process there?
Like Arthur Fleck is a disenfranchised white guy who can't get anything, so he goes crazy and starts killing people.
What?
Yeah, like that's
The main rich person in the movie is also white.
and gets murdered.
Eh.
Well, I mean, the movie
Oh
had every.
my god.
The movie has like every accusation. I mean, the people called it racist, which I don't
see how
the,
that
the
is.
incel one, which I mean,
The
That
insult
one
one
get
was
that-
overblown.
I get that he's
here's
violent,
my-
but there's nothing against.
Here's my
exactly
theory.
women
I
in the
think
movie.
this.
Yeah,
I
they didn't
think,
focus
I
nearly
think
enough
this
as much
movie-
on his not getting with the one chick for
Right.
that to be an incel
I
thing.
think this movie was just more about how radicalization happens in general, regardless of what kind you're talking about. You know, am I being? Yeah.
Do you guys think their movie promotes violence?
I don't think it promotes it. I mean, I can see the of all the things that this movie might inadvertently promote. I think radicalization might be the most like justified thing that people say it's promoting, just because it provides a I'm not gonna say that I would go out and murder a bunch of people if I had a couple of really bad days, but you get it. You get it.
I mean, you're not gonna say that.
I'm not gonna say it
I mean, that
because that might implicate something bad.
would ruin the surprise.
My
Ruin the surprise.
Oh my gosh.
We've all been put on a list just now, just for talking about this movie. Like,
The other, I mean, not that speaker, but the one that's in this room.
I mean, how do you
We're now
know?
on the
The one
I
train.
mean,
in your
that
phone,
that speaker
actually.
could be
Yeah.
bugged too. How do you know?
It's got a connection to the internet.
Somebody could have just like put something in there. I don't know how that works.
You know, they might. I don't think so, but they
Are
might.
you listening to us right now?
FBI. I think the whole controversy thing was way blown out of proportion. If anything, I heard a conspiracy that it was all media campaign to
Right.
get the Joker in the media
Because-
more
because-
it's all like all the controversy is completely made
Here's
up.
something that's kind of strange. CNN is owned by Warner Brothers. CNN has been talking about it a lot. Just an interesting little thing there.
I'm not saying that this is confirmed, but I am saying that Alex Jones was right all along.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Alright.
I would love to.
I
I
wanna
would
hear
love to
his
hear
take
what
on the
Alex
movie.
Jones
Yeah,
is
really.
thinking about this movie. Oh.
Just so we're clear, I'm not in support of Alex Jones. The man is a total lunatic.
Okay.
But he's very funny.
Disclaimer.
He's very funny in how crazy he
Jake's
is.
frogs, dude.
The water.
The water.
It's turning them gay. I honestly, I want to hear Alex Jones do movie reviews.
Yes.
Like, can we invite Alex Jones on the podcast?
Dude, have you ever heard him talk about the prequels?
No.
He's talked about the prequels and how like the Nemoidians are like Asian stand-ins and everything. Oh, it's so funny.
I
It's
mean,
so great.
The Nemoidians are like
They are, but
a
like
really
he goes.
bad Japanese stereotype.
He goes into like geopolitics and how it's about. Oh, dude, it's amazing. It's.
Whereas the rest of us are like, this is kind of racist. Alex Jones is like,
Oh,
no, no, this is part of the secret Japanese
Dude.
cult to get take American
Dude,
business.
if you have a second,
The
man.
Bilderbergs.
If you have a second,
Whenever he says that, I think Bill the
swear.
Bears.
It's worth looking up just
Just
to
to
brighten
hear.
up your day, just a little bit.
Back before his channel got banned, he would post meme videos of him on his channel. Like he would share them on his YouTube channel. Like him screaming about Obama being the devil,
think-
like and then going Super Saiyan.
I think,
He posted that on his channel.
I think it's possible that he's in on the joke, and that he's just pretending to be crazy to sell shit to people.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
I mean, wouldn't you? If you could be a character like Alex Jones, maybe get rid of the Sandy Hook stuff, but keep
Yeah.
the rest of the
Yeah, I
insanity.
wanna...
Well,
Like-
he got rid of the Sandy Hook stuff as soon as he got sued.
You know, after that litigation hit, he's like, well, I should probably roll
Yeah.
that back.
Mhm.
Just roll it right back. don't want to get double sued.
That was a little bit of a tangent, but it was a fun one.
I mean, you know, Alex Jones is always a fun tangent.
Yeah.
I think.
Anything else in the controversy, anyone?
I liked that fake sign that somebody put up in the group chat that said single males will not be allowed to buy a ticket to this movie. I for a hot second thought that might have been real, and
I did too. I really thought
Yeah.
that was like an actual warning sign, which is
Like before you buy the ticket.
yeah. I was like, oh shit,
Confirm
I
your-
gotta invite somebody with me.
It's like
Damn.
the lobster, but it's every movie theater now. You
It's
get a
the
couple.
lobster.
you guys want to play a game? You guys want to rank the Jokers, right? The
All right.
by performance.
All right, so by performance,
Yes.
we're gonna go with, I'll say Joaquin Phoenix,
Bam.
then Heath Ledger,
Listen, hey, you got
then
it, bro.
and then Jack Nicholson, and I don't want to count Jared Leto's performance as a performance. It was rubbish, and he was really mean to his
I
castmates.
think you are
He's-
forgetting about someone very, 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 very
What,
important.
Mark Hamill?
Yes.
I guess Mark Hamill counts because
He
he's
was
not
in a theatrically released movie. He was
Which
in
one?
a Mask of the Phantasm.
Which one was that?
That was the animated movie that Batman the Animated Series that got released in theaters in the 90s.
Okay,
so
well,
he
in
did
that
play
case-
Joker in a.
In that case, I'm gonna put Mark Hamill. If Mark Hamill's being included in this, I'm putting him over Heath Ledger. I really love Mark Hamill's
Yeah.
Joker voice. Like,
What's the iconic one?
I mean, if I think Joker in my head, Mark Hamill's voice is
Yeah.
what's there. He's played all the most iconic Jokers.
Oh, for sure.
Like, he played him in the video games. He played him in the comic book movies, like the animated ones.
Mm-hmm.
I love Mark Hamill.
He's such a great man.
He's a better voice actor
I
than he
mean,
is a
Luke
normal actor.
Skywalker. I mean, come on.
I agree. Yes, I agree that.
He would listen. Might get some heat for this, but like Mark Hamill's Luke Skywalker in the first in A New Hope, and even into which one's into the fifth one. I don't like it. I don't like his performance.
What do you like more about the sixth one?
At that point, he's got some confidence in the role, and he's got more to it. I mean, I like him in the fifth one a lot too. Just
You know
not.
the story about how his face is different in between the first one and the second one?
Yeah, because he got
Got into
nasty
a car
accident.
crash, dude.
Yeah.
And they wrote it into the movie. That's why he's like all messed. Like that's why the Wampa messes up his face. And then he's in the bump. And then he comes out looking different. And that's why.
It's funny.
It's horrific, but it's also kind of funny. Yeah.
It's a little funny.
Same way that Sylvester Stallone talks like that because he was also in a car accident that paralyzed half of his face.
I thought he had a stroke. It was a car accident.
It's one of those. I don't know.
I know he like part of his face is
Mhm.
paralyzed, which is why he talks real funny. Sorry, Sylvester,
Ooh.
I know you can kick my
Ooh.
ass.
Hey, watch it over here.
That's really good.
That's pretty good.
Hey, what are you saying, Mr. Stallone? Hey, what? Oh, hey.
Oh.
Oh, that was good.
Oh
No.
lordy.
I can't understand what you're saying. Hey, wait, listen, wait, what? All right, I'm gonna stop now because he's gonna come over here and beat the shit out of us.
Sylvester Stallone could kick all 4 of our asses.
Oh,
at
for
once.
sure.
At
And
once.
he's 70 years
Like-
old.
And he would.
I mean, he
kill
just made
us.
a new Rambo, right?
Yeah, he did.
It was bad. Don't watch it.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
I was
That's
kind of
really good.
hoping it was going to be at least passable.
Nope.
Damn.
It is boring and then bloody and then over.
Ugh. Ugh. What
What
else?
about
Is...
Robert Pattinson, the new Batman, and then what's his name? Paul Dano as the Riddler. Just got announced.
I
Paul
love
Dano as
Paul
the
Dano.
Riddler. Interesting. They were saying something about Jonah Hill being either the Riddler or the Penguin.
Jonah
He
Hill
dro-
denied
Jonah
the
Hill
role.
like dropped out. Yeah.
Damn.
Didn't-
And Paul Dano was like
Honestly,
the
in
next
favor
one.
of Paul Dano as the Riddler,
I agree.
I'm okay with this.
Yeah.
I am
I
okay
love
with that.
Paul Dano.
I kind of wanted Jonah Hill as the Penguin though.
That would have been cool.
He'd have to get fat.
We were
again,
supposed to
which
get.
is why he probably
you
said
remember?
no.
You remember when Joe Manganiello was supposed to be Deathstroke?
No.
Anybody remember that?
No.
Remember when he showed up in the post-credit scene of Justice League, in the suit, with the eye patch and everything?
I actually didn't watch Justice League.
Bro, there was at one point the director of the Raid movies, which are some of the best action movies ever made, was supposed to make a Deathstroke movie, and I was on fucking board because that is the perfect director for that character. Joe Manganiello is the perfect actor for that character. But then they, of course, it's DC, so they messed it up.
Right.
Of course.
They're turning over a new leaf though with this Joker movie.
Yeah, that's. I'm kind of hoping that
Maybe they'll bring it back. Maybe they will.
That's what I'm hoping. Like, if Robert Pattinson's the new Batman, I'm hoping that this Joker with Joaquin Phoenix like stays.
Todd Phillips really, really doesn't want that to happen, man. He's been saying nope, 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 nope every time somebody
I
asks
mean,
him,
Joaquin
nope.
Phoenix said in like a post interview that he's up for the.
Well, yeah, it's not like Todd Phillips' opinion matters at all.
Yeah,
if
it's
this
not
movie
like
makes
he's
money.
Warner Brothers. He doesn't control DC's creative market.
Right.
He's just like, I don't want to direct
I mean,
it.
if-
Well,
if-
you don't have to, Todd.
I mean, if
You don't have to.
I mean, if Joaquin Phoenix is down, that's all that really matters.
Yeah, if you get Robert.
And we're getting Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson, and again, cautiously optimistic, but I feel like that's gonna be good.
I agree. I
Yeah.
love Robert Pattinson.
And I love
He's
Matt
such
Reeves.
a
And
good
he's coming like
actor.
right out of the lighthouse.
Yeah,
High
yeah.
Life.
He's
So.
been having a
Yeah.
good few years, man.
He sure has.
He
yeah.
like Twilight made him look like a teeny bopper actor, but he's really not.
If you
he's
showed-
a really
He's doing
fantastic
like
actor.
If you
Kristen
show-
Stewart did 5 years ago.
Oof.
Like she started going into like the indie movies and like
She
really
was in the
dark
clouds
roles.
of Sis Maria, and that movie is boring and garbage, but everybody seems to like it, and I don't know why.
It's like what was it, Goldfinch? Wasn't that movie? Like,
Oh, yeah.
really boring and
Oh,
awful.
yeah. It was
and
bad.
people are like, you just don't get it, man. It's like, all right, whatever.
Read the book instead. The book is a classic. But anyway, Robert Pattinson has been having a great year.
In Good Time.
Good Time was
Oh my
great.
God.
Yeah.
Damsel
my
was this.
fave.
There's this other one called Damsel. Oh, I'm sorry. That he was also great in.
Mm.
I have not yet seen the space one. That
Oh,
he was
High
in.
Life?
High Life. Need to see it. Good Time is an
Amazing.
amazing film. It's like watching somebody play Grand Theft Auto at 3 stars. Not 5 stars, but like 3 or 4 stars. You know?
The helicopters aren't out there
Right.
yet, but like the cops definitely are.
Yeah, for sure. It's just like a horribly like anxiety-inducing movie, man.
Never bored during
Yeah.
that movie.
Oh, for sure.
Never bored.
Out of curiosity, what would you say is your favorite superhero movie?
I don't know. I don't even know.
Interesting. Okay.
I have like zero experience
We
with
will circle back around. Alrighty.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Nathaniel's had an interesting suggestion here. We're going to ask everyone what their favorite superhero movie is and why. This will be the first edition of the opinion piece.
Hey.
Let's start with Nathaniel,
Oh, okay.
because
Well,
you went last time and we took all
Yeah.
your arguments.
yeah. This is a bit of a cliched answer, but I have still to say The Dark Knight. Have to. Because there's been a lot of stuff that's come close. There's been a lot of, in my opinion, Logan comes close. This recent Joker movie comes close.
Mhm.
and there's a couple of other. The first Kick-Ass movie I feel is actually a pretty solid satire of superheroes in general. But yeah, Dark Knight, man, just one of the most perfect movies ever made, man. You can watch it over and over, and it's still really like there's no part of that movie that you just want to skip over, you know. There's
That's important.
yeah, you know what I mean. There's no wasted time. There's no like the performances are great. Heath Ledger, of course, is great in that movie. He's timeless. Rip Heath Ledger, wherever you are. Beautiful bastard.
Out in the aether.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, man, some of the best stunt work I've ever seen. Some just practical stunt work too. You know, they didn't do. They did very little in CGI in that movie. It was just great. The one little tiny thing in that movie is that there's just the way Batman fights in that movie. You know, if you it's called this stupid thing called the Casey method where he's just like he has his arms locked at 90-degree angles. He's just like you can't see me. You can't see what I'm doing. But if you just look up clips of Batman fighting in
I remember him doing the weird thing.
Boy,
like this.
howdy.
It looks goofy.
that just does not look great. That's
I mean, it's he's a professional martial artist.
say
It's
what
a
you
solid
will.
method.
Say what
Very
you will about Zack Snyder. He made the best Batman fight scene anybody's ever made in BVS. Fight me. Do it.
All right, Alyssa.
Stupid.
You said earlier you didn't really have a favorite one.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if I had to pick one, it'd probably be this one because it's like the least like a superhero movie. Does that count?
Does that count?
It's a comic book movie.
I was gonna say
Is
does
it?
Scott
I guess it
Pilgrim.
is.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Scott
It's based on
Pilgrim's a
something.
freaking superhero.
I'd say Scott Pilgrim's a superhero movie.
Okay,
Yeah.
well then, if that's the case, then it's probably Scott Pilgrim. I mean, how can you not love Scott Pilgrim?
Yeah.
I've
Come
actually
on.
never seen Scott
Oh
Pilgrim.
my god,
Bradley.
Definitely recommend it.
Bradley.
Very disappointed. It's like a father. Like, it's
Son.
just got the 4th grade report card.
Yes. You got a D in science and you haven't seen Scott Pilgrim.
Oh, God, what a
Bradley,
disappointment.
I'm very
my
disappointed.
Very disappointed.
Very disappointed in you.
Yeah, probably
Not
Scott
mad,
Pilgrim.
Just
then.
disappointed.
I guess for mine, I'd pick Infinity War. I think I'm really interested in movies in usually the villains because I always felt like with the Marvel movies there was no stakes. Like the heroes would always win. Like I think that's my biggest gripe with superhero movies in general is the heroes always win decisively. There's never a Pyrrhic victory in what it is. It always feels like a softball.
Mm-hmm.
Like when Quicksilver dies, he didn't need to die. That was stupid. Like he's a speedster. He could have dodged the bullets.
They did that out of spite, bro. I saw that and I was like, wow, they really hate Fox. God damn.
Like that always felt stupid. But in Infinity War, Thanos wins, and it's not like it's for some dumb reason. No, they just got hardcore outplayed. Thanos was better than them, and he won, and that's it. And I really appreciated that. Like when he just that was it. I think we just lost.
The one thing that takes that effect away from that movie, for me anyway, is the fact that you know for a fact that it's never
Endgame
going
is-
to ever stick, ever.
Endgame's the next
Which-
movie. If you pretend Endgame doesn't exist, heck,
Which is kind of interesting. I think that taught movie studios to realize that, hey, you need to take into account the fact that filmmaking conventions and marketing conventions exist, and you're gonna use them, and people know that this isn't gonna stick around. So how do you get around that problem? I feel like that's an interesting problem. Like something
Yeah.
that's not within the film itself affects your enjoyment, or not your enjoyment, but your experience of the film. You know.
All right, Chris.
Out of not being typical of saying like the Dark Knight, that would be mine.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could
Love
say
The
it if
Dark
you want,
Knight.
if it's your favorite one.
And Logan's great too. If I'm gonna say a hot take, and mine's Spider-Man 2.
That's not
Like the Tobey Maguire
Yeah.
Spider-Man
that's
2.
not, that's not an
too.
incredibly hot take. That was
That's a
just-
hot take.
No.
That's
the,
a hot
the
take.
Tobey Maguire
Yeah.
Spider-Man movies made by Sam fucking Raimi.
Yeah.
Hey, don't shit, except the third one, but don't shit on those movies.
I think the second one. I think it's actually like a great.
The
movie.
second one is a great movie. Yeah, I am of that opinion as well. Go back and watch it.
It's
see
been
if-
a hot minute.
It aged very. I think it aged very. I watched it like a few months ago, and it aged really well.
Yeah,
Really?
it aged alright.
I was disappointed in the first and third, but I thought the second one with
I haven't seen the second
what's his name from
Sandman?
Otto.
but
he was in.
not Brian Cox. Alfred Molina.
Yeah, I mean,
Great
Wait, I
super
thought
villain.
Doc Ock was the first one.
He was the second one.
he's
The
second.
first one is Green Goblin.
That's right. I totally fucking forgot. Alfred Molina is the villain in
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so I think it's really, and the scene there's a particular scene with Aunt May where Peter comes home from, no, everyone leaves his birthday party,
Aw.
and he's sitting with Aunt May, and he finally gets the courage to tell Aunt May that he saw Uncle Ben die, pass
Mhm.
away. And even now, it's super emotional. Great acting from whoever plays Aunt May. I don't know her name.
Some old lady.
Some old woman, but that
An old woman who's probably dead now. when you
But
think
she
about
did a
it.
great job, and it was really emotional. Loved it, but also,
No sadness.
I mean, V for Vendetta, I think is quality.
I mean, that is a comic book movie, but I don't know if I call it a superhero movie.
Mm,
Yeah,
I think the
I
trend.
mean, I like V for Vendetta a
and
lot.
I think if Watchmen kept the how good the opening scene or the opening credits were the entire movie,
Yes.
then that would probably
Boy.
be my favorite.
So the opening credits of is that the one with the times there are changing
By
playing in
Bob
the background?
Dylan.
Yeah. Boy.
Sometimes I just go on YouTube and
That
watch
opening
that.
gave me hope for that movie, and the
Mhm.
rest of the movie took
I-
that hope away.
All right, hot take. I really like Watchmen. I mean, I recognize the rest of the movie isn't as good as the opening, but I still like it. Like, I still like it a lot. I didn't get why everyone said like, man, after that the movie just goes way downhill. And I'm like, I mean, it's not as good, but it's still good.
You like it because it basically takes the story from the comic, and the story from the comic is good no matter what you do to it. But
Yeah.
it's just
I just wish they kept the giant tentacle monster from the end instead
Yeah,
of making it
man.
a. Well, I guess they made it more realistic with like the Cold War and everything going on,
Mhm.
like pinning on Dr. Manhattan. But
everybody read Watchmen if you haven't already.
I'd
It's a
agree.
classic of American literature.
and the new HBO show's coming this Friday.
Oh yeah.
Today, actually.
This Friday, today,
Today?
Oh,
Friday.
Oh my
Today,
god.
Friday?
My goodness.
Yeah.
I have so much TV that I have to watch.
Okay, so yeah, Chris, closing thoughts on Joker. We'll start over with you this time.
I thought the movie was, very well done. I'm a fan of every movie it's ripping off. We're not ripping off, but that it's inspired by Taxi Driver.
Excuse us.
King of
Who's
comedy.
inspiring me?
The only, I gave it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
The only reason I brought 2 down is because of when he just put the fingers to his forehead, exactly the thing in Taxi Driver. That is, everyone that's a fan of Taxi Driver that sees this movie now, that's gonna take them out of the movie and it's like, oh, okay, now, instead of being in a gritty New York City and you're like, oh, this is inspired by Taxi Driver, but this is a whole new character and everything.
Mhm.
Just that. I'd have to give it points on unoriginality.
Mm.
But I thought the rest was really good. I think it promotes morality instead of immorality because everyone in the movie is so shitty. So even the poor people to the rich people, no one's good. It's not like Christopher Nolan's movie where
No,
It's
it's. I think it really reinforces that whole Gotham City thing of everyone's really terrible
Yeah.
before
Jeez.
they do the
It's
revamp
the most
of the
accurate
police.
depiction of Gotham City ever.
It's like New York, but bad, extra
It's like
bad.
New York in the
Bad.
70s bad.
Yeah, it's like New York. Yeah, New York in the '70s, bad. On to my take on the movie. I largely agree with Chris. I thought it was really, really good. I also gave it an 8 out of 10. I deducted points not because it aped Taxi Driver, which it totally did, but that's not why I deducted the points. There were some parts in the movie where I think the writing faltered a bit, and it was really noticeable because most of the movie it is at least passable, and there's a couple places where it drops from that to being obvious dialogue writing instead of just being a natural flow. And I think that really can take you out of the moment that it was trying to create. This movie was very atmospheric because of the great focus on Joaquin Phoenix. Since it's entirely on him and it's on his world, it really puts you in that mind space. And when the dialogue falters, it really kicks you out, and that's not a good place for this movie to be. But it only happens a couple of times, and it's not that bad. So 8 out of 10, solid film. Liked it more than Taxi Driver, to be honest.
Wow. Yeah, I agree with both of your sentiments there. Again, I think it was cinematically really gross looking in the best way possible, which was really cool. But I do agree. I think the script got a little bit weird. I still feel really weird about that ending monologue that you liked.
I
love
feel like
it.
I'm the only person who likes it, and I can understand why. It was really on the nose.
Very, very, very.
Well, too on the
So
nose.
yeah, that kind of took me out of it. But other than that, yeah, I thought it was great. And I'm not the biggest fan of the superhero genre, but I'm on board. I want to see another one really bad, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
when he's like actually the Joker. and
Yes.
Actually a
Yeah,
criminal.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, basically you guys said everything that I could have possibly said. I gave it a 9 out of 10, and I docked the 1 point just basically because of everything that you guys said. It was just, I don't know. I guess I was more forgiving. I don't know. Like I didn't think it was worth docking 2 whole points over, but
I don't know if it was. I don't know if I think the movie was a 9 out of 10,
Yeah.
and then the things docked it in 1 star or
Mhm.
not star, 1/2 star, whatever. Docked it a point. I don't think it ever really reached the point of a 10 out of 10 movie and then had things that dropped it. I think it pushed itself really well, but not all the way there, and then had a couple of falters.
Yeah, I can agree with that. There was no like big thing that was like, okay, this is what takes you out of the movie. It was more of like,
amazing soundtrack to this movie.
Oh,
Yes,
score.
the soundtrack actually was
Awesome.
fucking tastic. I'm like,
Yeah.
it fit because they since it was made before the movie, everyone kind of had it in mind when they were doing stuff.
Mhm.
So, and you can really tell it really matches rather than like I think it's a lot easier to act to music than it is to write music to acting.
yeah.
A few people were a little miffed because they used Rock and Roll Part 2
Yeah.
during the stair scene,
Listen.
and that the person who wrote that is a rapist, convicted. That's a little-
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
That guy was convicted.
Yeah.
Like, it is really hard to find any rock star be pre 1990
Oh, for sure.
that isn't a convicted sex offender,
Yeah.
or at least
Who isn't a
Of-
sex offender?
who isn't a sex offender.
Yeah.
Convicted. That's a little harder to find.
Right.
But and on that happy note,
I
thanks
need
for
a
listening,
shower.
folks.
Yeah. Thanks for listening,
Gross.
everybody.
This has been the first episode of the UFS film podcast. Have a good one.